brothers, sisters, friends, anyone who's here to listen to a word. Thank you for joining us. And this afternoon, I would like to take a moment to reflect on Matthew 13, verses 44 through 46. We're gonna read about a couple of different parables. But before we get into that, I'd like to share that in my life journey, I've seen many instances where we realize that we've fallen into this depression or this thought process where we feel like we're not worth anything. We feel saddened or upset because we think, well, I'm not worth it. We might see other people and compare ourselves, but little do we know how much we truly are worth. Now, before we get to the verse 44, we have to remember that we're coming from 43 verses of describing and referencing corruption in the kingdom community. But the parables that we're going to read are a little bit different. First, we read about the mustard seed, which illustrates how the gospel will grow beyond expectation, because a mustard seed isn't to grow more than a bush, but the Bible describes it as a tree and how it prevails in the corruption. We read about yeast or leaven, commonly used to represent sin and corruption. And in this parable, it is also used to illustrate the infiltration of such corruption and sin. And we also read about the parable of the wheat and the weeds. And it paints a very clear image of the corruption than the other parables, because it specifically mentions the enemy's involvement. But let's read Matthew 13:44. The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure that a man discovered hidden in a field. In his excitement, he hid it again and sold everything he owned to get enough money to buy the field and to get the treasure too. This sounds like a good story. It sounds very logical. When we first read it, though, we may not catch the full significance of the message. Yet Jesus continues. Verse 45. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a pearl merchant on the lookout for choice pearls. When he discovered a pearl of great value, a perfect pearl, he sold everything he owned and bought it. Now, hold on. A merchant who collects precious and choice pearls, plural, finds one pearl and decides to trade all of that in for just one pearl. Something doesn't make good business sense here. A merchant might have many different items, many different choice pearls. But in this parable, he decides to sell everything for just one pearl. As we reflect on verse 44, we understand that the field is the world, just like in previous parables. But notice that the man did not take the treasure until the field was bought. Besides the fact that the tradition in that moment was that if you found treasure on a property or on a piece of land that belonged to somebody, that treasure belonged to that person as well. But we notice that the man did not take the treasure until the field was bought. This man is Jesus. We are the treasure. We are the pearl. Now, we can choose to believe in him or not. Jesus will continue to see us as the one thing that's worth his everything. Who would do that for you or me? That is love. That is a true friend. There is no greater love than he who lays his life down for another. A friend who sees the treasure you are Can you name anyone else who has done this for you? And now knowing this, would you still reject him? Thank you for joining me in this message. I hope that you join us in the next one.